We're live.
Oh man. Constructive Convos. Yo, Melanated, what's good? Sister Melanated, you there?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. I'm over here talking and my phone was on, my computer's on mute. Bless up, family. Bless up. And welcome to another episode of Constructive Convos, where the conversation is always on the black side. Today, we have a very interesting topic. And personally, I've been excited to talk about this topic. We've been having little conversations, and we will be discussing polygamy and polyandry. You know, is it something that our community should use going forward for 2019? So, without any further ado, I wanted to just extend welcome to all of our panel members, our Constructive Convo members. We have our brother B2.
Bless up, family. Big up to everyone. Big up. Bless up.
Yes, we have brother E Black.
Yo, big up, peace.
We have sister Fatima.
Peace.
Brother Scattered Minds.
One love.
Brother Shakara.
Yeah, I said don't worry, African power listens to be here.
And I am the beautiful melanated goddess.
I am go on, melanated. Big up yourself.
Yes. Yes. So we want to get down to things and just chop it up on this topic. I think what we should do is I think more conversation would be focused on polygamy. So let's get to the good stuff. Let's talk about polyandry. Let's talk about polyandry, because I'm just saying, based off of me assuming the perspective of the male, I don't want to assume. So let me just throw this question out there. What are your thoughts on polyandry?
Personally, it's not for me. Yeah, that's not for me.
It's not for you. Okay.
Yeah. Like, I'm thinking it could work for other people, but I'm not sure. I'm not convinced. I don't know enough information. I haven't really thought about it enough to propose on that one.
I'd say that it's similar. My position is similar to polygamy, to be honest. I'm not against it, but I don't necessarily promote it. Yeah. Having said that, though, as a man, I do see it as my responsibility to, as much as I'm open to polygamy, to be open to polyandry, if that makes sense, in equal measure, at least intellectually.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah, that's why I think for other people, but just in my personal life, that could never work. Not at the state I'm in now, anyway. Like how I think, but like we're saying, in the ego is because there is a lot from polyandry. It's not really the same as polygamy, in it, because the rate that you can have children is significantly decreased.
That's the fundamental difference.
For me, I struggle to really understand the function that it's supposed to play, because I know we're talking about it mainly in the context of nation building, and I struggle to understand the function that it's supposed to play in that. Whereas, although personally polygamy wouldn't work for man, I can understand some of the reasons for and how it plays its part in the nation building apparatus. So it'd be interesting if someone could break that down for man.
Well, what's your not to comment in the conversation, I just want to know what the brother's understanding of the role of polygamy is, and what he understands about it and why it's implemented.
So as far as I understand it, and again, my understanding is quite limited, but it's about pooling resources, it's about numbers, and it's about a coordinated effort to attain economical growth, and yeah, just have more sort of voting power, if you like, through the numbers. That's my understanding of it.
So why do you understand that for polygamy and not polyandry?
Because I just don't see how. Again, I guess it's tied to that key difference that he already highlighted about a female sort of being limited as to how many pregnancies she could have at a single time, whereas a man can, impregnate several women at the same time. So from a numbers point of view, it just makes it's a bit more easier to understand. Whereas for me, it seems like a woman can only really deal with a single man from a child's sort of bearing position, you know what I mean? At a time. It's going to be 9 months at a time. You're capped on how much, Yeah.
I hear that still.
Yeah.
But if someone could show man something different on the polyandry thing, then yeah, it'd be interesting.
Yeah, on the polyandry thing, I think it's going to be very difficult to find any argument from my perspective anyway. Well, from polygamy, I think there is somewhat of an argument, but I think at the same time, I definitely come down on the side of seeing more from the perspective of polygamy than I do. However, I can respect polyandry if people want to do that with their own personal situations. They could, and that works for them. But I think it's unlikely that it is going to work like that.
Well, let me just I tried to do a little bit of research about this polyandry stuff because it was just, I guess I'm just the playful side of me, because especially in this conscious community, men definitely try to, nation build, yeah, alpha male, I'm gonna have all these women around me, kind of stuff, and I'm like, let me find out what's going on with this polyandry stuff, right? So I just did a little bit, just a little quick research on polyandry. So let me see. Basically, it's socially recognized mating of one woman with two or more males, right? And what am I reading from? The name of this article is from The Atlantic. It says, when taking multiple husbands makes sense. Historically, polyandry was much more common than we thought, right? This is from February of 2013 by someone named Alice Dreger. Okay, so there goes the DeLille brothers. Okay, so basically it talks. The article, I'm trying to see, I definitely didn't highlight. I read through it. There were anthropological accounts of 53 societies outside of classical polyandrous Tibetan regions. And then it goes into the different, it's a lot of citing the different anthropologists. It says some of their names, someone named Catherine Starkweather and so forth. But basically it was talking about recognizing that at least half of these groups were hunter-gatherer societies. The author concluded that if those groups were similar to our ancestors, as we may maybe reasonably suspect, then it is probable that polyandry has a deep human history. So they go on to talk about there's a difference between classical polyandry and I guess it's non-classical polyandry. Mm-hmm. But basically there were times where one husband would have to go off, for war or whatever. In some cultures, it appears that a man may arrange a second husband. Again, frequently it's his brother for his wife, because he knows that when he must be absent, the second husband will protect his wife and thus his interests. And if she gets impregnated while husband number one is gone, it will be by someone of whom he approves in advance. The anthropologist have recorded that sorry, that's my dog, that this kind of situation among certain cultures, they call it, this happens for like Eskimos as well. Then there's something called the father effect. Then there's the father effect, where, and it talks about the Bari people in Venezuela. The Bari have a system for recognizing two living men as both being fathers of the single child. The Berkman's group found that the children understood to have two fathers are significantly more likely to survive to age 15 than children with only one, hence the term the father effect. And then they, basically was saying that this is an odd phenomenon for our current culture that we're in, because we focus more on who impregnated that egg, right? So we focus on the sperm, like that's your child, and because you're the egg donor. But it's this in this kind of informal polyandry situation. It says that the society around them officially recognized both men as legitimate mates to the mother and the father to her child. Then, pretty much basically it talks about situations where it is normal in the case of like land. So like, let's say you have a person who, it's just like, like this whole nation. So you have brothers and sisters or whatever, right? It makes more sense for a woman to marry that man and his brothers, like there's 2 or 3 brothers. And then that way, there's not a whole bunch of different sister-in-laws who could then be entitled to part of the land if one of the brothers dies, right? So in this case, if one brother dies, the land and the property stays in the family's name.
Yeah.
She doesn't have any entitlement to it. So that's another way in which historically, I'm not saying that this is something that's practical for 2019, but I'm just saying that how it worked. This was an example of how it worked, where a woman would marry a man and his brothers, and so forth. And then I found another article, and it said that polyandry was common in areas of the world where resources such as land and food were scarce, but women were allowed to own property. It was at one time practiced in Tibet, but Chinese occupation outlawed the practice, though it still occurs in Yunnan and Sichuan regions of China. It's still practiced in parts of Africa, such as Kenya, Tanzania, and Nigeria, as well as parts of South America and India. What y'all thinking?
Yeah. For me, the main benefit of like these different styles of relationship is lost in that one in reproduction, because it just creates a negative birth rate, where the polygamy is for positive birth rate.
Well, it definitely is more for environments where there is more men than women, right? So it wouldn't, just like in a society where there's more women than men, it makes more sense for women to share their husbands. So, I guess in certain regions, right? So not globally, but in certain regions, there's possible that there's villages or communities where there's more men than women. So in those, it would work for that environment. It would work for, for that type of community. But listen to this. Generally, where the practice was followed, a man who desired a woman met with the woman's parents. If they came to an agreement, the man married the woman. If a second man also desired to marry the woman, he spoke with the woman's parents, and unless the first husband presented a dowry large enough to create a monogamous relationship, the second man also married the woman, and the family all lived in the same home.
IMA. Now, I mean, you sound, you know, well disposed to this arrangement. Like you sound like
Listen. I told you we kind of sort of talked about this. We talked about this in other in Constructive Convos, like our private conversation. And you know, what if you ask a woman, you know, would she object to being loved by two men, protected by two men, provided for by two men, honored, cherished, worshiped, everything? You know, she gonna say no. I just want no. Just the same way, just the same way a man would want. You know, he wouldn't have an objection to having two wives that, you know, nurtured and supported and cared for him, and, you know, two beautiful women who provide, you know, cooked and cleaned, and he's not gonna say no. So, you know, the idea, the way that this is sounding, you're darn skip it, sounding pretty darn good.
Do you know what's noticeable to me though, in what you've read here? That none of the criteria so far has anything to do with feelings, emotions, dating, connections between the people. Just what I'm saying. Like it's something that takes place within a particular social context, economic context, you know what I'm saying, and cultural context.
And I think that when we have conversations about relationships from like a historical or even a cultural perspective, I think it definitely takes that you know, that framework. Think about when people talk about arranged marriages, you know, like how much feelings are involved in it. A lot of it makes sense. This is a good person. They can provide for you. They have these skills. This is a good woman. She has, you know, whether or not she's a virgin, her family is this. Like, it's all things that it just makes sense. It's not necessarily an emotional, oh, I just get butterflies when I see you. It's not really, I mean, I'm sure those things develop. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure those butterflies develop, but I don't think that is a criteria, you know, to get married. Why is Brother Witness in the chat? You better get up on the call, Brother Witness. So, yeah.
Right. Oh man, yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
suppose maybe if I was not a man, I might be more into it. But you know, like I'm just not really feeling that one.
Yeah, if you could, I feel like if I was on if I was on an island, and you know there were 10 women and 20 guys, I might be a little bit more open to polygamy. You know what I'm saying? like I might be like, well, shoot, I gotta get some kind of loving. You know what I'm saying?
But some people need to, like, well, everyone can come together actually, and we can build a boat and sort it out. Because I don't know about all of that. So we can build a boat. You know,
no, let's okay. I'm kind of with you with that, you know, Brother E, because you know, I'm on the same page with you. Let's just say, forget the island. Let's just say we were the last 30 people on a planet.
Yeah, like it all depends on, because it might just be a musical chairs kind of thing, and like we're still gonna, you know, there's only like, it doesn't make sense. More people, like more men trying to impregnate less women because they're the last 30 people, innit? Like it only takes one guy to do that anyway.
Yeah, but I mean,
when I've seen polyandry, what I'm not, I think you read this already, innit? Melanated, is that like who the biological father is not important. Just what I'm saying, like in that structure, that family structure, all of the men are fathers, regardless of biological relationship with the child, innit? So they don't even try to find it out. It's not important to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but what's the
Right.
point in doing that? Like, when they could, well, only if there was too many men or something. But even still, man, like,
Honestly, I see it as like, I don't really see any real issue with polyandry, just like I don't see any real issue with polygamy. Um, because, in fact, when I think about polyandry, not that I prefer it or anything, I have no opinion about either one. Um, the thing is, like, when you don't have to emphasize who the biological father is, there seems to be there's more of a chance for harmony, because it kind of, for me, kind of takes on that whole like village raises a child vibe. So it's not necessarily that the woman who's bearing these children is like in control of her husband's. Like, she's not keeping them in line with the whip. That's not the understanding I got. It's more like everyone is sort of coming together to raise kids that they don't really have. They don't feel the need to have ownership over. Whereas with polygamy too, I mean, say sort of the same thing, but the versions of polygamy that I've seen in the past, it almost seemed like, the women were all kind of belonged to the men, even though all of the women were respected, no doubt. But it also kind of came down to the whole like the woman, the man having to, like, obviously he has to provide for these four women, but it became more about like building a name and a tribe than it was really about anything, anything more. So I think it also depends on, somebody else said social context, but it also depends on like does ownership and identity really matter? Like, if that's a priority, then polygamy for sure. Because if two men were in a relationship with a woman, like married to this one woman, then it wouldn't be as easy to kind of fight, because obviously the woman can't just. I mean, I don't see the woman kind of um, imposing her ideals. I feel like everyone would have a say, and the men would have no choice but to get along, and no one could just kind of start their own colony. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, and that's the fundamental thing for me. I feel like approaching the conversation from a personal kind of individual perspective will never get the answer. It's like, and that's why I don't promote it, in the sense of the fact that I think these things only work within a certain context, polygamy and polyandry. And I think Melanie is correct. I think most men, if you gave them the opportunity to have more than one wife, 9 times out of 10 they would take the option.
Why is that though?
I don't think so though. Like,
Why?
a lot, only the happy ones, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I say most, innit? I like personally. I mean, I'll put it this way. Depending
Like,
on
if you wasn't happy with your wife, would you want another one?
No, but that's the point. That would be the wrong context through which to get another wife.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like the happy ones, they'll be on it, but the happy ones are not 9 out of 10. Get me?
No,
it's 9 out of 10 out of 4 out of 10. You get what I'm saying?
What do you mean?
So basically, yeah, it's the 4 out of 10 is how many people that are happy with the one they got now.
Yeah, okay.
And then it's 9 out of 10 of those people that want to do it.
So you're saying that the other 6 out of 10 would probably leave the woman that they're with for another woman.
Yeah, or just do it behind the back or something.
Yeah, I hear that. You know what I mean? But I just think that the point I'm making is that there has to be other considerations other than my personal benefit in it.
Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I feel you. Like, for me, it's like it will be difficult to have a relationship when one person is thinking it's for a selfish situation.
That's the point. Like, I feel like it's like, for me, the character things about, because I said to people that there are a lot of characteristics here that are necessary in a polygamous relationship that I feel like a lot of us in monogamous relationships can learn from. And this idea of not being jealous and having an overbearing emotional attachment and that kind of things there. I think a lot of monogamous relationships are starved because of those dynamics that just could not exist in a polygamous relationship if it's going to work.
I agree.
I agree.
But it's like, where's the line though? That's the only thing, because then you start getting to a point and you're thinking, right, really and truly, like, you get so in control of your trigger or whatever that you could actually turn it off. Then you're like, I could do that, but you know, that's crazy. Like it still seems crazy though. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that I don't think that we are like socialized for that. You know what I mean? To have relationships with one without the whole emotional component, right? I don't think that we're socialized to go into a relationship like, okay, well, this woman, she has the same similar vision as me, and her values and her morals are the same, and I can see her, having nurturing qualities to be a mother. She doesn't, I have the resources to be able to support her and the child. I'm not in love with her. She's not in love with me. We're not like, we haven't slept together. The sex isn't what's keeping me with her, but I'm just going to go in and make her be my wife. And we're going to, we as in the West, we don't go into relationships in that way. And we also, like you said about the whole jealousy thing, the whole you being your mind, I think that kind of goes both ways. I think that men view women as their property, as you belong to me, right? And then and likewise, a woman definitely believes or operates from the standpoint of you are her man. You know what I mean? And we're just not socialized for the other way from birth. We're not. So I think that's the reason why there's always that pushback, in modern times, of really trying to implement something like polygamy or polyandry. Yeah, I just don't. I don't see many people getting past that part.
Like for me, with the polygamy thing, one of the issues like the foundation has to be good economics, like once you can support it though, it's just like it's so powerful, right? Like if you're able to, like, say for example, one man has like 5 wives or something like that, or like say there's 6 people in the relationship, and then they have 20 children, like those 5 are having 4 children each, and then each of their children do that. By the time it's grandchildren, you already got 400 grandchildren. Like that's mad. Like all of those people being brought up to work together, and like that's 400 grandchildren, and then or like 400 through the grandchildren. Look at their network. If each of them know 10 people, that's 4,000 people now.
Yeah, I feel like one of the things though that we have to look at is the extent to which we really have to, as men, deal with this patriarchy and sexism thing. Like in the sense of, if in a situation whereby the men are patriarchal, and I'm sorry, misogynistically patriarchal, I should more specifically say, then polygamy becomes oppressive to women. That's what I'm saying. And so like the only way, in my humble opinion, that polygamy becomes viable is if and when us as men are kind of working through that kind of stuff. That's what I'm saying. In terms of how we treat our women in general. Like if we're not doing very well in treating one woman, the way she's be treated, or protecting the women in our community from certain kinds of abuse in general, I just don't see the foundation from which you're going to be developing polygamous systems. You see what I'm saying? We're just creating avenues for abuse if we're not careful and if we're not conscious of what we're doing while we're going through these things in it. You know what I'm saying? As a community of men. So like the individual man in it might be fine. The men among us that are completely conducive towards maintaining that situation and facilitating it economically, emotionally, and morally, all that kind of stuff. But I just think collectively, as black men, like if we're trying to impress this upon our sisters as something that is viable for us to nation build, And we've just got some work to do on ourselves and each other. You know what I mean? You know.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely agree with you, Brother Shakara, because I truly feel like people shouldn't even like when they go that polygamy is the solution to the problems in the Black community. I just want to just laugh right in their face. Like, are you kidding me? Like, Black relationships, you know, a lot of them don't make it past like the 5-year mark. So what makes you think you can handle and maintain a successful relationship with 2 women and you can't even hold on to the one? Like,
I think I can answer that, yeah, in some way, shape, or form.
Okay, go ahead.
So for a lot of people, and I can't say I'm completely alien to this situation. For a lot of people, let me say for a lot of men, yeah, what takes longer is the fact of having to make a choice. Yeah. So if you're attracted to more than one woman, if you could choose both of them, it will be easier. Yeah, like as a solution. Does that make sense? Like, so it's the idea of having to make a choice between.
This is a solution to that one problem, but what about the other problems in the relationship? Like, if you don't take the opportunity to really know your woman, right? You don't even know if you can be all that she needs, because you just now, you know, like your first year, let's say your first year. You don't even know if you can be all that she needs. You bringing somebody else in the equation. Like, you know what I'm saying? Her ex-boyfriend just stopped texting her. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, for real. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's you, to me, your mind shouldn't even be on that. Your mind should be on, how do I communicate with this woman? How do I learn this woman? How do I balance, you know, not losing myself in this relationship? How do I, be the provider? We talking about we want these things. Where you bringing on more people? Now you got to learn 2 people. Now you have to, like, to me, that's compounding. Like, I don't know. I
agree with that.
The way I'm looking at it is like, you know, if your focus is only on eliminating temptation, right? Because I get that, but that's a factor on both ends, right? So, you know, if a woman says, well, hey, let me continue to entertain this dude at my job and X, Y, and Z because you know, I don't want to have to deny myself, you know, and what's wrong with having attention from 2 men and all this kind of stuff, then how or when is she ever giving her attention to this new thing that she's starting? You see what I'm saying? So, like, I get it, y'all men, you know, you're lions and you know, you like all these different lions and your animals and your instincts and all of this stuff that you tell yourself, but best believe that women are working very hard at staying focused on you and being dedicated to you and being faithful to you, because there are definitely people trying to holler. There's definitely temptation out there. You know what I'm saying? You go on Instagram and it's naked man chest on your phone. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's there.
Yeah, you know. Man, I hear that still. Man, I hear that. That's kind of why I say that that nothing works unless we're working on ourselves in it and working to develop character traits that will make these things possible.
Peace, and greetings, everyone. I'm sorry I've been too quiet in the background. I've been trying to drop some information and knowledge to our viewers in the chat. I just wanted to ask a simple question. What's wrong with polyandry again? I didn't quite hear a legitimate, you know, claim against polyandry.
The negative birth rate. Negative
birth rate, is that statistical or is that just assumption?
Well, if, say for example, if you got multiple people in a relationship, it's now over multitudes of groups, it's likely that it's going to be negative, right? With people having more like relationships where there's only 1 man and 1 woman, it's already, for a lot of cultures, a negative. So it only makes sense if, like, you know, more
So
men
if
was just with one woman, it's gonna make it even worse.
so if we had information relating to different parts of the world where they practice polyandry successfully, would that still sway you, or would you still be against it?
Like, what are you talking, like, success? Are you talking about, like, they can have the amount of children that I was talking about, 400?
No, well,
like grandchildren.
You can have 200, you know, and then those 200.
Oh yeah,
maybe
200 is still a good number.
Well, listen,
You
what
know,
I'm saying is
even
that
150.
let's say
Not
for
bad.
that one generation, they practice polyandry, and then the 200 people just practice monogamy and go forward that way. You see what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't have to be that one way of relationship is ideal. Again, the reason why Witness is saying that is because in certain regions, you know, based off of, you know, the numbers of between men and women, polyandry is a better form. Like, so instead of having 0 kids, or instead of having, you know, you are able to have, you know, whatever that minimum amount is, that a woman who has multiple husbands, she can only be pregnant once that year. But instead of having none, you know, then, you know.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that's the point. This is why I say what I say, in a sense. So as a man, yeah, if I'm open to polygamy in whatever sense, yeah, because of the situation of our people at the time, at this particular dispensation of time, and whatever, like whatever those circumstances that I'm arguing makes polygamy viable, I in my head try to develop the consciousness that if the situation was different and I was living in a situation whereby polyandry would be the most viable form of relationship to keep the black family strong, that I would open myself to that and fully engage in it in equal measure. Yeah, you know me. Wait till my time come. You know what I'm saying, and love that child, regardless of whether it's whether I know if it's biologically mine or not. Whatever it is, this what I'm saying, and I feel like them sensibilities we just have to develop on both sides of this thing. Otherwise, we're just creating a situation to facilitate sexual abundance.
I wanted to read one of the comments from Fire Lion. Fire Lion says, I mean, with all the baby mamas and daddies, we got lots of us already doing it.
Yeah, I disagree with that. And I've always disagreed with that argument. Polygamy and polyandry is not matey, side chick, side man, and everything there. They're two completely different things, yeah, and we mix it up, yeah, a lot. Yeah, because we're only dealing with it on the sexual element and the sexual engagement, or probably the emotional engagement. But having a marriage, it's just like the same way that a marriage is not the same as sleeping around.
Right.
Yeah?
So someone named Melanated Goddess said, shout out to all the brother husbands out there loving on the black women. Oh my goodness. What else? Select the Oneness said, them man spiritual debase if they can't control themselves. And then Select the Oneness said something else earlier. Let me see if I can. It says them man cold, disrespectful, and see women as objects, quantity, not quality. All right then. Them just want more woman.
Like for me, innit, yeah, like it wouldn't be that wouldn't be the case, innit, because you know it's not necessary, innit. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of benefits in terms of being able to multiply.
Yeah, I get it, and I think what he's saying, like the basic biology of it is, you know what I'm saying, multiplication. If we're gonna compare it to in terms of child rearing, multiplication on the one hand for polygamy is just significantly more than for polyandry for obvious reasons. That's what I'm saying, and it may be the case that at this particular dispensation of time, there are more places in which polygamy is a more viable option than polyandry. It's just that we've got to assess it from that perspective and not from the perspective of men wanting to, you know, breed at the place.
Yeah, like it's a difficult thing psychologically, innit? Like having a daughter, then you'd be thinking, like, you think, but would you be cool with that for your daughter? And you're like, like,
good point.
It's a mad thing.
Good point.
You know, I one of the things that like definitely comes up when it comes, you know, time for this discussion. A lot is the whole having a baby thing, right? And I wanted to find out what about the emotional aspect of it. What do you all feel would be some benefits, emotional benefits to let's just say polygyny. Polygyny would be both one woman, one woman, multiple husbands, or one man, multiple wives. So what are
the problem there is if you've grown up in a situation where you're in a polygamous environment, it's going to be very difficult for you to emotionally understand the benefits of polygyny or polyandry, because you've been socialized and indoctrinated to believe that polygamy, one man, woman, or man, woman, or a man with several wives is the thing. So it depends in the kind of environment you grew up in. That kind of affects the way you look at it. So it's going to be hard. You're going to have to like separate yourself from the way you've been brought up to see the benefits, the pros and cons. And I don't think most people can do that. I could be wrong, though. I don't know.
Like, I think it depends, you know, focus on what you really want, you know. If you're on a certain wave and that ticks the boxes and for what you're doing, then it's easier, isn't it? But if you're just doing it to fit in socially or to actually get out of what's socially normed, then that's difficult, isn't it? Like,
so what were the benefits? What were the emotional benefits?
I wasn't actually thinking so much on emotional benefits. I was thinking actually emotions would have to be, you know, fine-tuned and tap into the emotion of making steps forward, like progress on a different situation.
I would argue that the emotional benefits come with the whole communal element to developing family and raising children. Your support network is wider. I'm saying this from what I understand from people that I have come across who are either in polygamous or had been in polygamous situations or things that I've studied here. So that the whole concept of sister wives and how they relate and organize family and household, there's a support network there, whereby, you know, that relationship is fundamental to the entire relationship, marriage working. This is what I'm saying. So, you know, they say that all parents need a break sometimes. This is what I'm saying. There's just more people in a particular structure to be able to facilitate the running of the home, the issues that come across in families, and the raising of those children in that respect. You know what I'm saying? Those are some of the benefits that I understand. And as well, because like in most situations that I understand it like, from an African perspective. When a new wife comes in, it is actually the wives that welcome that woman in, and that the first wife chooses the second, and so on and so forth, and them kind of things there. That's what I'm saying. So in that respect, because of that relationship, the women support each other, even in relation to the man. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So it's not a situation whereby, or it shouldn't be a situation whereby each wife is trying to get favor with the man. No, the wives communicate collectively, even in relation to the man, and challenge the man even in relation to each other, if that makes sense. So yeah, you know. So, I think.
Okay. I didn't want to leave out my brother Scattered Minds. I'm very, very interested to find out from his perspective.
Yeah.
You know, what does Islam say about polygamy, and you know, like, you know, how does is the structure of Islamic polygamy different than you know, non-Islamic polygamy?
Yeah, 100. Thank you for contributing. I was wondering when you were going to come to me for that, but I'm happy to contribute. No, I'm joking. I was going to say, shout out to my sister Jana Seeker in the comments as well. I was going to ask her because she said something interesting earlier about a Muslim women's group that she was at.
Oh, yes. You want me to read it?
Go ahead if you want. Yeah.
Hold on, let me go up. Yeah, she said that they had a women's group. Oh man, I can't find it.
I got it.
Okay.
We had this discussion on a Muslim forum where a sister suggested the women can get more than one man. You should have seen the guys lose their mind. And then she also goes, yeah, I can't remember what she said. She said something about what the general opinion was, which I agree. But I was wondering if she could say, drop any the information that woman might have tried to provide on behalf of women.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. Because is she saying Islamically the women can have more than one man?
That's what I want to see. Like, was there any dalil?
Yeah, Jenna. Bring the dalil for those sisters, Jenna. We need it.
Yeah, that's it.
I said, don't have me convert now. She started laughing.
Yeah, but I don't think there is. From my understanding, and from the Quran and from Hadith, for people who go by the Hadith collection, etc., etc. From the Quran directly, it is quite specific that polygamy is allowed for men in the circumstance, and it's quite specific in the circumstance. Only if the man is capable. Now, a lot of scholars, once again, I want to get the exact wording for it. You can, that's, I don't think this is the exact quote, but anyway, I'm gonna use it anyway. Marry women of your choice, 2, 3, or 4, but if ye fair, ye shall not be able to deal with them justly, then only one. So basically, the specific the thing is that you have to be able to deal with your wives. If you are going to engage in polygamy, you have to be able to deal with your wives justly. And so scholars debate on what justly means. Some will say on a material level, in terms of you have to be able to financially provide for all of them and for all of their children. Some say on an emotional level, you have to be able to divide your time between all of them equally. Some say in terms of love, the amount of love you give them, you need to give them all equal love. And because that's not put, and different scholars use different arguments to say how possible it is. And from my reading, the majority of scholars actually say one, like marry one is what the Quran is trying to get at, basically. That the main basis thing is you're supposed to only marry one person. However, if you are able to, and there may be circumstances in the cases of orphans or orphan children, or a woman raising children on her own, and situations like this where maybe a man taking it on as a second wife might be helpful or something like that. There are situations where it's seen as allowed. But the preferable basis, from my understanding of studying Islam, is that you marry one as a primary principle, but you are allowed to marry as much as 4 if necessary.
Yeah, and I just think that's a good principle to go. And I feel like if we were to set up some like a black community nation building polygamy kind of system, yeah, I would argue that we should institute
Islam.
Things
like institute Islam.
Yeah. That's right. That's good one. I call that a good one. Yeah, it's good. But I would say that we would have to institute things like the man would have to have been in a relationship functionally with one woman for a significant period of time. Let's say 5 years.
Yeah, you go. All right, there you go.
So I'm saying before considering a second wife. And or any other number of wives or whatever. Just what I'm saying. And that first wife would have to approve and be involved in the decision making process of the second wife.
Can I add one more thing? He cannot be broke and wanting to get more wives just so because he's broke.
Definitely. So he would have to be in a certain kind of way.
I'm just saying that, what I'm saying? I don't know how in the US they over here like, look, they literally have polygamy memes where it's like, oh, if he make $10 an hour and she make $10 an hour and she make $10 an hour, they making $30 an hour. I'm like, why he got making $10 an hour and want 2 wives? I'm sorry.
At the same time, though, Melanie, I get what you're saying. At the same time, though, when I've studied polygamy from in African societies, yeah, a man being able to provide is one thing, but there's also the reality that wives have an economic role in the relationship. That's what I'm saying. So, like each wife and each child, like they all contribute to the economy of the family. You see what I'm saying? So it's not a thing whereby the idea of breadwinner doesn't translate as well or as exactly.
So you're saying that in the past, it having multiple wives wasn't a status, a symbol. It wasn't.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the man had an economic role, but it was also understood that wives added economic value to the family, so they weren't an expense.
They added economic value. So, but I'm just saying those numbers. My point is that if you're making $10 an hour, you should not be seeking to have.
That's ridiculous. That's
my point. It's like you're not in a position. You need these wives to eat. You see what I'm saying? You need these wives for shelter. Like how you don't have shelter, but you seeking, and we just. I mean, I'm definitely not speaking this to you, Brother Shakara. I'm saying that there's brothers out there with a warped sense of how this thing is supposed to go, right?
But some of them might think that the wives are going to work though.
Huh?
Like, not all of them are going to be at home, right?
I don't know. It depends on you talking about 400 children. That's a whole lot of daggone kids.
Can I add though, yeah? Because one context in which I do sympathize with some elements of this argument is because we understand, especially in the West, the disenfranchisement of black men. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. So when we're not living in a situation whereby men are prepared and will inevitably have the means. Like when we're talking about society that deal with polygamy, we're dealing with societies in which, generally speaking, the men, it was inevitable that they would have the means, to sustain a family. Yeah, and so we're only dealing with the extent of their means beyond a certain point to facilitate a second wife and a third wife. But I don't know that poverty was of a such in a traditional society whereby like it was expected that a man would inevitably be able to support at least one wife. Yeah. Okay. Whereas we're not living in a situation like that right about now.
So that's my whole point is that then you have to crawl before you walk, right? Yeah. You can't come out of the crib and then say, I'm about to run a marathon. Right, so you might have aspirations to have multiple wives, but you need to hold down to one because that's what you can afford. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Shakara, I wanted to ask my brother, knowledgeable on African tribes and religions. I'm curious.
Try to be.
In the discussion of polyandry, did you share with us the tribes in various parts of Africa that practice polygyny or polyandry?
No. I haven't gone. We haven't gone into analysis of specific tribes, but I know that, for example, polyandry and polygamy is present among the Maasai. You know what I'm saying? Polygamy is practiced among the Kikuyu. There are examples of polyandry and polygamy in ancient Kemet and Nubia. Obviously, you know what I'm saying, the Yoruba practice polygamy. I've not come across examples of polyandry among the Yoruba. I understand that in ancient Benin, and I could be incorrect on this, but I do recall seeing evidence of both polyandry and polygamy in ancient Benin. And obviously in Bakongo society, so like, for example, Queen Nzinga had more than one husband. You know what I'm saying? And polygamy also functioned in that society as well. So, you know.
So it's not quite an alien thing to our people.
No, but at the same time, I'm not a person that projects the idea that African society or traditional African society is predominantly polygamous. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, people give this impression that most men in ancient times had more than one wife, and I don't think the argument can be substantiated. You know, and the idea that traditional African society is polygamous is an overstatement. It would be more accurate to say that monogamy and polygamy operated in many different African societies. Know what I mean?
I'm glad that, you know, it's it's that you provided that information, because there's a lot of people that would even say, oh, that's not African, you know, that's not African. And it's like, okay, you know how huge the continent of Africa is, and you know how many tribes and villages there are, and you know, they have different culture and different norms and practices. So it, you know, just make that blanket statement. I'm glad that you.
It's silly. I say Africa is just as much, if not more, monogamous than it is polygamous. If we're gonna make a blanket statement.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. And I mean, I think that so for 2019, do y'all think it's? Let me hear from the other sisters. Sister Nine Ether, you've been quiet. What's going on? With the you in favor of the whole sister wife thing? What?
Yeah, bless up, bless up, family, bless up, man. Evening settings. Did you ask me if I'm in favor of it, then, sis? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. What's your opinion?
In terms of me having two men or the man having two women?
Both of them. I already gave my opinion on.
Well, listen, my thing's very simple. Yeah, like obviously, I shouldn't even say that word, but in the first instance, no. Do you know what I mean? And I'm just very simple like this, innit? What's good for the goose is good for the gander. It's simple. So in the first instance, no. But if you can do it, then I can do it too, man.
I hear that, sis.
Now we're going into polyamory. Like that's a completely different thing, fam.
And polyamory is a beautiful thing, you know. It can be a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I'm drawing the line.
My hearing knows.
Yeah, I think the thing is though, I can understand when women say like if men could do it, they could do it too. And I do get the point. However, at the same time, I think it's more of a natural thing. Do you know what I mean? It's one of
Yeah.
For me to be a
Yo, remember, you know, me can't done, you know. That's what tell me, you know, me can't done. So we are talking about.
No. What I'm saying is, like, from my understanding, majority of the time, if you ask most men, would you like more than one woman?
Then one wash. No, I'm joking. Go on.
Can I involve my queen in the conversation?
Yeah, absolutely.
So babes, we're discussing polygamy. I don't know how much of the conversation you've heard in it. Polygamy and polyandry, yeah. And so let's just like what. Okay, well, first of all, what is like your perspective on polygamy and polyandry? Men having more than one wife, and women having more than one husband, and would you be open to either option? Yeah, speak up, babe.
Can you hear me? They can hear me. Yeah, that's a shot. What is my? Well, you know me. For me, it's we don't have the structures in place to have an understanding. We're not socialized in a particular way. I think I did catch someone saying something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That we're not socialized in the right way for those things. But we, knowing that in the time that we're living in, we're in a time of war at the end of the day. So, mass incarceration, mental health, all kinds of different things. So, I always say we're living an unstructured polygamy and what's the other one?
Mm-hmm.
Polyandry in any way. So it is. So in that sense, I believe in it because it's happening. It's just happening with no structure. It's happening in a lawless sense of the way. I don't think we're in a time where we can say, "Oh, no, it's not for me." Like it's happening. People are doing it. That's just the realities. But it should happen in a structured way. Yeah.
So let's make it personal then, yeah.
Yeah.
Like under what if we was gonna be in a polygamous relationship, what would be the circumstances in which it would take place?
Why go to polygamy first?
Oh, polyandrous. Whichever one. You know?
Yes. Yes. You didn't see what I put in the chat? I said, brother, husband, stand up.
Yeah, you gotta go through me first, though. You know what I mean? Like, I have to say the application. You get me? And see what I got. My God.
Say that again. How do I feel?
Like, yeah, no. How, in what circumstance would it take place for us? We've kind of had the conversation before, but like, under what circumstances?
If our family got drastically bigger, so let's say I got blessed tomorrow.
Yeah.
With twins, let's say, or triplets.
Yeah.
I'm looking for the sister wife. I look for shit.
All right, so that's one circumstance. But how do you go about it though? Like, would it be a situation whereby you would, you would scout?
Yeah, but it has to be the women have to pick the women.
Yeah.
I'm a strong believer that no man can come and tell me, yeah. You can't come and say, yeah, I'm right. And if you did meet a sister, let's say,
yes.
This is obviously me and where our relationship is, but I mean like this is down the line if you get what I mean. But I mean like you can only bring her because you think that me and her harmonize on a level like proper, and that she'd be constructive to our house. But women have to make the choices with polygamy.
Yeah. And I'd agree with that. I've said to my partner before, like in the sense of if we was ever gonna be that situation, like I wouldn't even bring it to her. She'd have to bring it to me, and I wouldn't really get involved in the choice up until the last minute. Just what I'm saying, just to sanction the whole thing in it. But I'd leave that up to her, and that's just my way of ensuring that my motivation is not self-interest. You know what I'm saying, in that respect.
He's a liar. He keeps going out and keeps saying, "Oh, that sister over there is beautiful. That sister over there is beautiful."
Yeah. So anyway, great. What's it good? Listen, yeah. Yeah. My eyes and my expression of the beauty that I see ain't got nothing to do with marriage and you know what I mean. I just let it go. You get me? And I'm not gonna bait up my queen anyway. She just baited me up still. But yeah, you know what I mean.
That goes in handy. Prince Chirimba in the chat just said polygamy has a code of conduct in African society. Everyone must be in basic agreement, and the first wife give consent. Mm-hmm. See, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's that I wouldn't go that far, yeah, but I think it should be a group decision, innit? Like even when there's now 3 people, then the 3 people have to all be happy with the 4th, But I don't think it's down to one person because, then if it's not working, you're just gonna blame the other person. Like, this is your fault, really. You brought them here.
I hear that.
That's what I'm saying. Like, a relationship has to be on a certain level.
Yeah, because that's the thing is though, yeah. Because I feel like it working is probably more gonna be on the basis of the relationship between the 2 women than their individual relationship with me. You see what I'm saying? Like, I think as long as the 2 women are getting on and are functioning.
No. If a woman's coming into it for the first time, and it's the first time for the whole family, our relationship is if we are not on good terms or we're not working,
me and you,
how are we gonna bring someone in?
No, I agree. No, but I'm saying that. But I'm saying totally in polygamy, I think that the functioning of the relationship is going to be more based upon how the 2 women are relating than their individual relationship with the man.
But I was thinking it's more like a group relationship.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, I'm just saying that I feel like if the issues between the women can be solved, I feel like that's the foundation of things in it. As far as I'm concerned, that's the primary thing in it. Like how the women are relating in a polygamous situation.
And this is one of the biggest issues with polygamy for me. Yeah, it's like, how do you get from 1 to 2? Because you're in a relationship with someone that obviously you feel a certain way about, and everyone else you don't feel like that about them. Right? So how do you get to that point from where you're treating them the same as the person that you feel like that way, but don't feel like that? Like, for me, that one is just, I haven't got my head around that.
Right. That's the emotional part that for me, I don't think I can wrap my brain around. Like, you know, you love someone so intensely, right? And that you're so connected to this individual. And for me to have that connection, you know, in totality with them, but their connection with me is divided. I'm not understanding that, right? Like, I'm just not. I don't get that part. Like,
I get it only because I think what he just said in terms of the collective thing, it's not based upon my connection. Like, let's say I'm in a polyandrous relationship. It's not based upon my connection with the woman. It's based upon my connection with the woman and my brothers. You see what I'm saying? So my whole is experienced in that relationship, not my relationship with the woman. That's how I see it.
oh, so right. But when you got with your woman, if let's say you're the first brother husband, you're the first one.
Yeah.
And you don't have a relationship with another man in the marriage.
So right. if I'm gonna be in a polyandrous thing, then I have a responsibility to develop a brotherly relationship with that brother. You know what I'm saying?
So that's the part that's the part that's difficult. What he was saying is that, like, for your wife, she has a particular relationship with you, right? And like, how does she get to a place where she feels the same way she feels about you with someone else? Like, that's like, to me, that's difficult to conceptualize.
Does it have to be the same?
Oh.
Like, I think it needs to be to the same level. You know, like with your children, you might like them differently, but you try to love them the same.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, like, so for example, like people that I've got, pieces, think on the side, yeah. Oftentimes, it's not necessarily because they feel about them the same way. Let's say they're ticking the same thing that whatever the woman at home is ticking. It's a different thing, innit? They got a different vibe with this individual. This what I'm saying.
But there's levels to this though. That's just a joke thing. We're talking about a building thing, like where it needs to be serious.
That's what I'm saying. If you're going to structure that, then I don't know if it's necessary that exactly how and what I feel for one, I must feel for the other.
You know, like trust. Yeah, see, like how much you trust your missus. Yeah, like just to kind of start trusting somebody to that level without, knowing them for some time or, being through some of the experiences that you've shared with your missus. It's difficult.
No, I hear that. Them things that take time, always.
And then it's like, so during that time, it's like that person's like, I'm on probation. Like, they're not even fully in. It's like an awkward period.
But you got to still like play house, I guess, because the goal is to get to that place, right? So you're in the place before you get to the place.
Like, fake it till you make it.
Yeah. Like, I mean, the way this stuff sounds, under no circumstances, you hear this, universe, I can never be a second wife. I have to be the first, because
a lot of women say that.
Of course, because I mean, second wife does not sound good at all. It doesn't sound like you're one person.
You don't have to call it that. I understand. That makes sense. I mean, Shakara, would you mind being a second husband?
I'm not.
Would you mind that?
I was thinking if the first one was dead.
I'm not gonna say I wouldn't find it challenging. But I'm saying that I try to put myself in a position whereby if I would put a woman in a position of being a second wife, then I have to be open to put myself in a position of being a second husband. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm not even saying that I've developed that consciousness yet. I'm just saying that is my intellectual logical thought.
Mm-hmm.
I hear that, but at the same time, I'm still shaking my head.
Scattered minds, B2. Y'all, brother, husband number 2.
Nah, that's a no from me.
No, that's a no. Didn't even think about it. Nope, that's a no.
Scattered minds.
I think it's just something that, you know, it's not even something that you need to think about, you know, when you just know. It's like, no. Especially like this, I'm not like there's no benefits that is being sold on it. Like with the other side, you can always just like, the multiplication is just clear benefit. But
yeah, but I mean,
this
like,
other thing is
I'm not seeing
benefits?
the benefits, brother E. I'm not sold on the benefits.
But look at this, yeah. So now,
Like,
yeah,
okay,
to
so
have so
listen,
many children, you don't have
right
to
now,
go through labor so often.
I would be LeBron James' sister wife, right? Because, you know, I like LeBron James and I like his vision. You know, he sent a lot of kids to college and stuff like that. I respect him what he's doing and stuff, and he can financially support me. I'm not trying to. I got to deal with the whole emotional part. At least, you know, give me some diamonds and something so I could like just pretend. You know what I'm saying? Like, not.
Yeah, but you can still get the diamonds, like, you know.
But I'm just saying, if I gotta financially contribute to you having another woman, that does not sound like a good deal on my end at all. I'm losing. I'm losing
because you seen it like the man's having another woman, where I would see it like both of you are having another woman in the relationship.
I got my own friends, no new friends. Drake said no new friends, no new friends. I already got my friends. To me, a man bringing this woman, he's bringing this woman. I got friends. I got if I want to go hang out, I got people to go hang out, right? I got people to talk crap with on the phone. I'm good, and none of us are sleeping with the same dude. So right now, right, where's the mansion that you putting me in, right? I have my own wing. You know what I'm saying? Listen, we could have a house that we got our own kitchen. So she could cook her food, I could cook my food. I don't mean me and some woman sharing kitchen. What do you mean? That's my You know what I'm saying? Like, look, you want the benefits? You want to be the king? Where the castle? You know what I mean?
I hear that. I can't lie. I get what you're saying. You get me? I hear it.
Sister Amelia, you with me? Yeah. Nanita, you with me? Yeah. Where are the other ladies at? Where the ladies at? Yeah. But, you know, the whole, you know, children thing, I'm not going to say that's not a decent point that the brothers do make, but
that's a deal clincher.
But
that one's a powerful one. That one is powerful. That one's a powerful one, Melanie. You can't just sidestep that one.
See, look, Sister Effie said yeah. Sister Effie said yeah. You know what I'm saying? Everybody want the castle. So, you know, the men have the castle. It makes the deal a lot more appealing.
Well, I'd add that to the list then, in the sense that if brothers seriously want to institute polygamy as a nation-building agenda, then we have to be committed to group economics in a way that allows us to collectively deal with these wives.
Yeah, true. But I mean, I think I don't know. Like for me personally, I think polygamy is a tool and it's something we should have there. I don't necessarily think we should consider it for nation building from my perspective. I feel like the thing about polygamy is it's almost not necessarily like it has to be, but historically and almost like at its base, it's almost linked to a hierarchical system or a system where you're gonna have high class people at the top and then lower class peasants and so on and so forth. And those higher class people will be able to maintain and manage the 3 or 4 wives. Yeah. And sometimes peasants will be lucky if they get one, you know what I mean? And I don't know if that's always the case, but it feels like that becomes a situation because it does almost become based on finances and wealth rather than out of necessity and out of such and such is a good friend of mine, and her husband died last year, and she's not going to be able to look after the kids, etc., etc.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, so it would really need to be a basis of how we implement second wives, because if it becomes a thing of attainment, that leads to further issues, isn't it? Like, yo, let's attain as many wives as we can get. You know what I mean? With my land.
Really quickly, I don't know where my manners have been. I forgot my housekeeping, and I want to have Brother Scattered Minds tell us what's on the agenda for tomorrow on the Scattered Minds show.
I should have been setting that up right now so I could promote it with a link properly, but I'll send the link out tomorrow to anybody who's interested. But yeah, my show is tomorrow. It's going to be based very similar on this discussion. Basically, it's going to be built on the basic blocks of community building, nation building, looking at the black relationship between black man and black woman. Like, are there issues there? How can we get that back on course and on level? Because I think, like I say last week, I'm not sure if you guys got to listen in, but I talked about reparations and repatriation. I said those kind of ideals may be too lofty and too far ahead, and maybe we need to think about the things that are step-by-step basis level. So I guess this is me trying to break it down, and also following on from this conversation in many ways, in looking at, the first block of building communities, which is, the man and the woman working together properly. So that's tomorrow's show, 7 p.m. on Scattered Minds. Subscribe to my channel. I'm gonna just give a comment now saying hi and all that. So you can just click on my page and you can subscribe, or what.
See if you can put the link to your channel in the chat, in case so people can hit the notification, so that as soon as you go live tomorrow, they'll get the notification. And I'm coming around to you, Brother Shakara. Your show is on Wednesday, right?
Yeah. Wednesday, 8 p.m. It's entitled Back to Africa, First-Hand Experience from Diasporan Returnees, to the motherland. And so basically, we're going to be speaking to Sister Shakina Chinedu and Brother Obadele Kambon, a brother and a sister from the UK and the USA, who have respectively returned to Gambia and to Ghana. And so we're going to be looking at the idea of repatriation, going back to live in Africa, the challenges, the pros, the cons, the joys, the highs, the lows, and the significance, you know what I'm saying? So we're going to be asking all them kind of questions there and giving advice for anybody out here who's looking to return. What kind of process should you go through? What kind of advice should you take? And these kinds of things. I'm going to share the link to that right about now. Feel free to subscribe to my channel and set a reminder so the conversations can't take place at 8 p.m. this coming Wednesday. And I give thanks for the opportunity to promote that.
Yes, absolutely. I didn't want, to forget my housekeeping, and I just each week goes by, I'm like edified by the information that you brothers put forth on your panels, and as always, we have some other members of Constructive Convos. Please subscribe to Black Ice TV as well. Brother Terry is a very, very active member, and he's always dropping some good information also on his channel. Who am I leaving out, guys? We're Constructive Convos. Content over everything. Yes. Make sure you subscribe to Content Over Everything. And yes, Brother Witness just posted the link to Kushti Cosmetics, where the ladies can get, ladies and brothers can get their skincare supplies from. And she also does consultations for, to help with any skincare issues. If you have any blemishes or dryness or oily skin, holla at Sister Kushti.
All the sisters, if you're looking to be a second wife, you got to visit Sister Kushti, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
maybe we can do a sister wife special or something.
I mean, go ahead.
How many sister wife special? Who's the sister wife expert in the group? I don't know a sister wife expert. But maybe we can have the brother husband training manhood academy. That's right.
I had that.
Brother husband academy. I love it. I love that idea. I knew this conversation was gonna be fun.
Can we dig a little bit deeper real quick though into so like what we would need in place for the relationships to work? Yeah. On the polygamy or the other side.
One major thing, to me, the one major thing is that we're raising children, that are kind of developed to be with each other. Like I don't, when I see these things working, it's in environments whereby the children are developed with complementary characteristics to make these things work. This a book called Facing Mount Kenya, by Jomo Kenyatta, and he goes through the rites of passage and the initiation into manhood, specifically with related information about how the girls are brought into womanhood. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like those kinds of processes is what makes these things to be able to work. You know what I'm saying? So those of us who didn't go through that, we kind of have to take ourselves through it, learn the principles and the values of it. To me personally, it's all about the social relationship. Yeah, so we have to develop the mentality to facilitate the social relationship.
Yeah, it's true. Once really we've got that, can make it work.
Before I forget, we're all sharing knowledge about where we can get knowledge that will help people. Can you please tell us more about what you're doing and the stuff? Have you got a site up yet where we can check that the knowledge on how you
goal setting course on there at the moment, but basically it's gonna be a platform for the community, which is gonna have courses at different levels in different things to upgrade our skills. At the moment it's just a goal setting, but there will be a sales course. Hopefully there's gonna be a committed yoga course, and homeschooling and a couple other courses on there still that can
brilliant. I look forward to
value.
it.
Really.
Yeah, it's gonna be a comedic yoga course on that website as well. Right.
Indeed.
At some point soon we're gonna get a live presentation of a taster, right? I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, it's gonna come.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out how I could incorporate some of my my skills and knowledge and abilities in the form of a course. I don't really know what that would be yet, but maybe some mental health 101, something called like that,
I do like the way Raz is commenting, and Raz ducked out the conversation still, like Raz,
yes, exactly. Right.
Yeah. Like you know what
Raz, he just want one wife. He can't concentrate on all these women. He's trying to get one wife.
You know what I mean?
Selected One says, remember, for us to rise as a people, it starts with women be seen as the natural celebrity of the show, and the man in her life as the co-star, chosen as her bodyguard. That sounds beautiful.
Boy,
I don't know about all that. Like me, I'm more on I'm not trying to see that for either side. I'm not trying to make it where, someone seems to be winning more than the other. I just want us all to win together.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing. And not to say I Selected One is saying this, but there's a sense of entitlement that you can't have in these kind of situations. I feel like people need to get out of. Like there's a mentality among some sisters here. Maybe this is a conversation for another time. But and even among some brothers, that it's like women are already made relationship material. And so it's just for us as men to just prove that we're on the relationship thing. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like women come to the relationship, the finished work. You know what I mean? Like I'm done. Yeah, you've got all the work to do. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like it's quite a destructive kind of mentality to have to a lot of degrees. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like I saw one. It was a seminar tape or a book, and I think it was the Compound Effect. Where he was actually at some seminar, and it was a relationship seminar, and they asked how much what percentage is it each given, yeah, and like people was like 50-50 or like 60-40 coming with all these numbers, but the guy was like, no, it's like every time you need to be given 100, and I was like, right, that's deep. You know, and I think it's like it's just a different approach. You know, a lot of people are playing games in their relationship instead of, you know, working really on teamwork.
I just thought about something. In the world of polyandry, can a man actually file for divorce?
Got on, man.
You know what? I feel like witnesses about that brother husband life. You know.
Listen. Ain't no man trying to leave.
I don't think so.
He's not. Why would a man want to leave his? You know what I'm saying? His queen.
It's not having it, where you get me. You get with me. You better stay with me.
Exactly. Like, where you going? Who gonna fix all this stuff in the house?
Yeah.
Right.
Look, he said, boy.
You know, but what do you mean in the house? Wouldn't they be out working?
Yeah, but I mean, so who fixes stuff in the house in a monogamous relationship? He go out working and he still come and fix stuff. What do you mean?
Yeah,
this is the same
but like,
thing.
you know, the other one can almost do it, innit?
Well, okay, listen, you're absolutely right. One of them can work the day shift. One husband can work the night shift. So,
what would you be doing this time? Like, just like reproducing all the time?
Yeah, I mean, reproducing. Sewing clothes for the children.
But what if you like got money? Like, you don't need to do that.
Then who's shopping for the kids? Me? Hello. Who's shopping for the house? Right? Who buying the toilet tissue for you to use and the paper towels and the good seasoning and all this stuff?
I know. It sounds like these brother husbands will be doing that as well.
No, they're not doing that. They're running businesses.
So all of them are just going to work and then coming back to you.
Yep, sounds great.
Like, I think they would at least need to have like different shifts and stuff. That would be crazy. Like everyone at work and then come back at the same time.
No, they're not coming back at the same time. One working.
See you the next guy. There, you're just screwed.
You do understand though that if the man is not able to impregnate the woman, then she can go to the other husband, who'll be able to do the job.
Yeah. So, what if the man is not working? What if he can't?
And that's the thing. I think that's a circumstance in which polyandry is workable. Like, just I'm saying, if a man is not able to have children but still wants a family.
Yeah, that one I can understand. So yeah, there's that kind of situation. But what do you think about that one, Melanie? Like,
so if a
man,
if he couldn't get, wait, what?
Yeah, like basically, or even if he couldn't get, but I suppose he can't get, he can't have children, but some of them can and some of them can't.
They're not. So you're asking me if that's the reason why I should get another husband?
No, I'm saying, would you accept those kind of husbands?
If they can't have children?
Yeah, or they don't want. Well, I suppose they would have to want to, right? Because they're gonna take on these children.
That's what men do to women in polygamous marriages. One wife can't produce, so he goes to the other. So the polyandry, the woman would go to the husband who could get the job done. It's simple.
Yeah, I thought they were supposed to try and get them all.
But what if she's the problem? Or what if she can have?
Well, you wouldn't know until you get the second husband, though, right? So
yeah, I know, but that's what I'm saying. But
that would be a big problem.
Yeah,
that would be a big problem.
That's what I'm saying. Biologically, the polygamy makes more sense on a biological level.
It makes more sense.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I understand both sides. Like, I actually wouldn't mind like women doing the thing. I think it's only fair to have them. They're both doing the thing, but my thing is that there's an order to things, isn't it? And there's a reason why certain things have happened. There's a reason why heterosexuality has been the prevalent dominant way of life for many people, and there's a reason why people married many wives in the wars. So there's a reason for everything. So my thing is that like we just gotta find like the reason in the polyamory thing. And
natural
order. Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
so
boy, oh, boy, oh, boy.
you know, there is an order to things. Like and even women, like women will cringe at the sound of polyamory before they cringe at the sound of polygamy. Facts. So you know, why is that? Is it social? Maybe it's social. Maybe it's social. But then you would have to say, is cringing at the sight of two men kissing also social, or is that just a natural thing for a heterosexual male to be like? So my thing is like there's only so much we can put down to social, and there's other things that are just biological, and you know certain things can't run. You know what I'm saying? Like certain things as an heterosexual male, if I see, I'm gonna be like, well, why am I going for this? And I know for a fact, yeah, it's not because of social. It's just like the cringiness is just too much, bro. you know what was there? It's just too much. So, you know.
Well, have you been listening to the show though, Raz?
Yeah.
Because I ain't cringe.
I'm not saying that you cringe. I'm saying
and neither did Sister Nine.
I'm saying a lot of like listen to what I said though. I said women. I said listen to what I said before you're trying to hop on, man. But I'm saying like women in general would cringe more to the sound of polyamory than to the sound of polygamy. That's what I said. I didn't say you or Nanito. You maybe the session I said women.
So, Brother Raz, right? And what I'm showing you is information contrary to that, right? So I hear you saying women, but there were at least 5 women in the chat, right? And none of them was cringing. So what I'm saying is that because what I did prior to me even asking the question is I provided an environment where they would feel more comfortable to do that when it's socially not accepted. But if you ask those same cringing women, you know, would you want to be loved by 2 men? Would you want to be protected by 2 men? Would you want to be provided for by 2 men? Those same cringing women would be like, well, no, of course I would, right? But when you say, do you want to sleep with, but if you say, do you want to sleep with 2 dudes? And they're gonna say no, because they don't want to be perceived as being whatless and slack.
You know what I call this though? I call this the first world problem. Like these sort of issues that you're talking about really only occur in the West. And like, you know, if you go back to Africa, then like if you chat about, you know, marrying 2 men or even that protectoring thing that you said, a lot of these women will be like, you're crazy. Like before you even finish with your sentence of second husband, they're gonna be like, well, go on.
But polyandry existed in Africa.
And polyamory.
No, polyandry. So a woman having more than 1 husband existed.
Of course, I'm not saying that it didn't exist, but I'm saying it wasn't the prevalent. Like the same thing that I'm sure there was homosexuality in Africa as well. But was it a prevalent thing? Was it like common amongst the people? Was it like seen to be part of African society? Of course not.
No, yeah, but I think homosexuality is slightly very different. I'm
100%. But I'm just saying, like, I'm just operating under the paradigms of there being different acceptance in certain societies, and I'm saying
I don't know if it's acceptance. I think it would be true to say that polygamy, as in more than a man having 1 wife, was probably more prevalent than polyandry. Yeah, I think you could probably make the argument. But
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I think you could also say that there are societies in which polyandry was a legitimate marital structure within the society itself.
You would have to you would have to give me an example, because this is actually the first I'm hearing of it. But I'm not like throwing it out and saying that no, that's not true. But what I'm saying is that the order in which things are set up and the way that things are set up, it wasn't actually a patriarchal system that we were having in Africa. It was actually a very matriarchal system, right? But in that matriarchal system, there's the wives actually like had like it was like a democracy in a sense where there was one man and there was a couple of wives, and the wives actually ran everything, run the finance, run everything, and the man couldn't do nothing. So if you wanted to get divorced from your second wife, you're gonna have to get the agreements of the other wives before you can divorce them. So even that gives these women so much power. But when we think of polygamy, we have this Arab slash Asian mindset of what polygamy is, that you take a wife that is like 15, 16, 17, and you marry them at a young age and all of that madness. But the way we sort of, if we can just remove ourselves from this Western paradigm and place ourselves in the African mind frame and see how things would have operated in a way where the women were still women and had full rights and also had more power than the men in these polygamy relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get me? So what I'm saying, I'm not saying that polyamory is wrong, but I'm saying in African context, having the argument that saying that polyamory is sort of like better or the same, is like sort of like you're gonna have to find instances where polyamory has been flourishing in that sense, where you can compare the two, like case by case. But the overwhelming evidence on the other side, in an African perspective, is way more stronger than the polyamory side, because there's more polygamy than there are polyamory.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think you might have missed it, but Melanated gave some examples at the beginning of the show still. Of circumstances in which polyandry would be instituted.
It was more like isolated situations, right? And I saw some examples of like farming situations where like there was a lot of land.
But there's certain communities. Remember, I read the other article that said it's practiced in Kenya. What was the hold on, let me go back to it.
Yeah, because in Congo as well, like
Nigeria.
I did look into it as well when you were talking about it, and like that was one of the examples they gave.
It said the vast majority of polyandrous marriages involve a woman who married two or more brothers, known as fraternal polyandry. This process was considered more stable than non-fraternal polyandry, the marriage of one woman to several non-related men. The two or more related men were more likely to care for all the children of the relationship than men who had no family ties to each other. And so when we discussed this earlier, I said I could see that being more probable, even for like, at least for myself. Like if I was to get into a polygamous relationship, it would make sense if I married my cousin's husband or my sister's husband or something like that, because their kids are related to me, right? So I have more interest in their well-being. I'm not looking, and if I have a child with that man, I'm not looking at those kids as competition or anything, because at the end of the day, we're still family. You see what I'm saying? But just some new woman, I'm like, yo, kid, my son run faster than your son. Like I might be competitive like that. Like, like even though that's their sibling, it's my child. You see, like.
And there was also another thing. Yeah, there was also another thing that used to happen, especially in the region where I'm from, is where, let's say, you were married to my brother, and my brother dies, I have to now marry you, and sort of like it keeps. First of all, it keeps sort of the wealth in the family, but it also assures that the family of the widow is taken care of. So he basically takes it a second wife or a third or whatever. But also, I do see also, this might sound a bit mad, yeah, but I do feel like polygamy gives more of a control to women than polyamory. The reason why I say this is that, let's say you have a woman has 5 husbands. That's 5 men v 1 woman. That's out of balance immediately, in a sense where those 5 men could completely dominate that one woman in a way where she has no power. She's powerless. Like, try and tell a man that, oh, you're not going to do this or that this day or that time, or trying to set out rules, especially with man's ego and all of that. It's going to be very hard to run that efficiently. But when it comes to polygamy now, it's like the women in that relationship have the dominant, like, not the dominance, I'm not going to say the dominance, but sort of has the last say to whatever going on in that relationship. For example, a man wants to spend this amount of money on, let's say, a motorbike that he likes. The women are like, no, that can't run because you got this, and this. The man can't do whatever he wants because he's not going to have a house to sleep in when he comes home. You see,
why wouldn't he have a house to sleep in?
Because the women can just band together and say, it's an example. So the women can band together and say that until you fix this, we are not entertaining you. Entertaining doesn't mean only with sex, but entertaining, like, let's say the wives used to do something for him on a specific day or whatever. They stop doing that. They stop, it's like a strike. It's sort of like a marital strike, where actually the women in this polygamy relationship have way more power than if it was the other way around. You see, and I think that our ancestors sort of understood that. Our ancestors understood that dynamic, in where, yes, polygamy, there's nothing wrong with polygamy, the same way there's nothing wrong with polygamy, but in an efficient way of running a community and having men being checked for certain fuckeries of mine, excuse my language, it makes it makes the community stronger in the long run than having a one woman dealing with 5 men that try. How is that woman gonna keep each of their man in check? Knowing man's ego, knowing man's vices, knowing man, all of these different things.
Wait, hold on 1 second. B2. Just tell me if this makes sense to you. You have 1 man, 3 women, and he decides he wants to purchase something. You know what I'm saying? He has 3 women, he want to purchase something, and these 3 women are somehow taking control and telling him what he can't do. And see, this is why I go back to, if he is the provider, right? That he definitely still has control. I understand what you're saying, Raz, but you know, if he can determine he can get his motorbike and maintain his household, then those women have no control.
Yeah, that depends though. This is what I'm saying in terms of, like, all right, I remember my second mother, my dad's wife, telling me about this documentary that she was watching in terms of polygamy and how it works in Sudan, I believe it was Sudan or Kenya. I can't remember which one it was, but she was saying she couldn't. This woman was saying she couldn't understand how the man within her particular nation could have less than 2 wives, and what she said was the reason is because this wife is responsible for this as far as the family and the house is concerned and the economics of the home is concerned. The second wife is responsible for this as far as, you see what I'm saying? So the idea, like, I don't know, because we're using terms like providing or provider, and in a traditional context, it might not apply in the same way. Not to say that the man is not supposed to provide, yeah, but the idea that he, because of his role as the man in the relationship, he has last say in terms of what is bought in the home. I don't know if that translates. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if a man has that kind of the power to decide that. Even in like my dad used to tell the story about his grandfather, and he used to go out and earn money, but when he got home, he handed the money over to my great grandmother, yeah, and she controlled the thing. You see what I'm saying? And he had his role in terms of that he would go every week, he would bring a certain amount of meat into the home, a certain amount of milk into the home, and so on and so forth. But money management was actually controlled by his wife. Money providing was actually controlled by him. You see what I'm saying? So there's different ways that it works, isn't it? You know what I mean? I don't necessarily feel like in a marriage, the person who brings in the money necessarily has all the decision-making power.
Well, I hear you.
So you're
And that's
saying
sort
she
of
was shooting with him in the gym, yeah?
and
Huh?
that's
I said she was shooting with him in the gym.
She was shooting with him in the gym.
Yeah, you don't know that lyrics when you
Yo,
say
I meant
she wasn't shooting with me in the gym.
and
He
lads, yeah.
got them over the head bars, boy.
And lads, yeah, let's think about it this way, yeah. We sort of have
Oh,
a
did you just say lads? They're females in the
yeah,
place.
like I hope, yeah, man. In Ireland, we call females lads as well. It's like a group of friends.
he's from Ireland. Leave him alone.
Yeah, man. You're a
I'm
witness,
sorry.
bro.
I apologize.
Yeah, but yeah. So let's think about this, right? We sort of have like a warped idea of what love is based on consumerism and Western ideals of what a romantic relationship should be. And we really don't think of love and relationships in a logical sense that is efficient to creating families and creating homes that will last, quite some time. And we make our decisions nowadays, especially in the West, we make decisions based on emotion, based on this feeling of love, stimulation that may or may not be everlasting, right? But I sort of look at the perspective where if you're going to make a family, it has to be efficient, and it just doesn't have to only be based on emotion and it has to be the majority of the decisions need to be based on logic, because the logic will defy any emotional rationale that you may have towards that entire situation. So in the sense of having this polygamous relationship with multiple women or women, it makes sense to hand over dominance of a household to the woman. Meaning, it makes sense to give the educational aspects of what it means to raise a family to women, and give that to women for them to be the guardians of that whole structure. Now, I'm saying a matriarchal system works best. Why? Because in a matriarchal system, the women are in charge and the men are the protectors of that. Doesn't mean that men are made redundant and men are, some types of, waste men, and they don't have, no. They are solely there to protect that unit. And if that's the case, and if that's what we're saying, when women need to be that guardian. So it would make sense to give power in this polygamous relation to that man. Now, if you flip it around with the polyamorous side of thing,
Right,
it,
can I just interject really
yeah.
quick? I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to tell the family we have about a little bit over 5 more minutes left on a stream. So what
It's
we're
more
gonna do
like
is
15
post
since
a,
because we
huh?
started. It's like 15. We started a little bit late.
Okay, so we have about 15 more minutes. So we're gonna post a link where where we continue the party. It's called an after show, right? So it's like so afterwards we're gonna extend the invitation for you all where you can join the family, the CC family, and we can have a little after discussion. So that's what I wanted to say. Go ahead, Brother Raz.
Yeah, I'm saying that if you flip it on the polyamorous side, the woman has realistically, the woman has no control. Like the woman in this place has five. Okay, in the terms of animals, like five men that are macho, extremely, they completely absorb that feminine energy, like completely absorb it to the point where if the man, if the woman just says that, oh, can you do this, and the man doesn't want, there's no way that woman is gonna get that man to do what she wants, or to have that communication forward if the man is not, has some sense. So in the polyamorous, it's like the women tend to know what's best for the family unit, in a sense where she's like the companion that levels everything out. But when you have an over aggressive force that men are in that situation, it gets very unmanageable, especially if you don't have a woman that is very strong headed and very boisterous, in a sense, to challenge that head to head male energy, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I take it then you are against polyandry.
No, fair enough. Funny enough, I'm actually not against polyandry. I'm actually not against that. I'm actually saying that whatever works best, and if we try to break it down in family terms, what gives a more fluid family orientation and family structure. What seems to flow best, and what seems to be the most rational and logical option if you were to choose either or. Mind you, one woman is enough for me, but I'm saying if we were to say, let's say we're putting this forward in a constitution of a new Pan-African state or whatever, and it was like going down as the debate, what would be the logical conclusion in the choice we would make? Would it be polyamory or would it be polygamy?
Shout out to all the monogamous men out there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, big up to you, man. Still.
I also want to identify the fact here that Melanated has shouted out brother husbands and monogamous men.
You know what? Listen, but let me. I want to show the end. I don't want to show this show the end, and me not say this. I respect polygamy as a relationship style, and I respect sisters who can come together, who can put, like, they have a strength that I don't have. I will admit they are able to manage their emotions in that capacity. You know, I'm just not about that life, right? And they are able to create a different type of family structure, and have an example of cooperation for their children that you know, I can appreciate that. So I'm not one of those women who are not for me personally to be in a polygamous relationship. I'm not one of them women that is like, ooh, y'all nasty, y'all sharing y'all man, and da, 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 da. Like, I'm not coming from that angle at all. Y'all are still my sisters, and I got nothing but love for you. That's just that. So I don't want, I got all the jokes and stuff, but I don't want to present that image that, I feel like I'm better than you or anything like that. It's all sisterhood, it's all love. That's that.
Yeah, I hear that still, and I appreciate that. I just think that whatever our personal relationship with the institution of polygamy or polyandry, I think what's most important for us to look at or to develop is the characteristics. Do you know what I'm saying? That what the characteristics that would require us to be in those kind of relationships that apply those to our monogamous relationships, and I feel like we'll be in a healthier situation. You know what I mean? I feel like the kind of sisterhood that it takes for sisters to be in a polygamous relationship, and the kind of brotherhood that it takes for brothers to be in a polyandrous relationship, if we had that kind of sisterhood and brotherhood outside of those relationships, we'll be doing our community a great service. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So even outside of being in those kinds of relationships, there are just principles, ideas, values that I think apply. That I think if we learn them and try to apply them, we will be by implication nation building. You know what I mean?
Okay, so as the title indicates, that this is actually part 1 of a 4-part nation building series, right? So next week we will have parenting. Yay! I love talking about parenting. We're going to be talking about parenting, guidance, and discipline and direction. So that's our nation building part 2.
So yeah, we'll be talking
know,
like, is beating a problem or solution? You know, like, are parents supposed to be leaders?
Oh, beating, okay.
You know, how do we create family values and these kind of things?
And you know, discipline and you know, how parents come together on different parenting topics and how they, you know, those are big issues because those can also be an area for falling out.
Yeah, like this is the root, right?
Late.
That's the root.
Bless up, Terry.
Wait up, bro.
Whoa, wait a minute. I mean, did we really address the legal ramifications? I know we're ending, but because in some countries there's bigamy. If you marry more than one person, that's bigamy. Now, I know the Muslims can get around that because they have their religious belief system, which works in the law, but polyandry wouldn't work at all. So it's almost like it's just a hypothetical, theoretical thing because it couldn't work because there'd be laws against it, wouldn't it?
Well, when you think about, you know, which we didn't go in this direction, but we could have definitely addressed what is marriage, right? So the whole marriage thing, whether if it's illegal, so that's the part. If you have it's illegal to be legally married, like registered with the government. You can only have a legal registered marriage to one person. You know, but you know, many you know, societies or cultures have, I guess you could say, non-registered marriages. You know, their view of a union is different. So then that part wouldn't be legal. Like you could have a ceremony, you could, you know, have a dowry, you could, you know, there's different ways in which man and woman become one and have a union. So that part wouldn't be illegal. Make sense?
Yes, it does. Yes, yeah, I'll say yes. Raz is quiet, so that's a good sign. It definitely makes sense.
I don't know, sir. Yeah, man.
So you know, if you want to comment, you know, for anyone who still has anything they want like to say, you know, please make sure you can leave a comment on the video. We definitely you know, would like the feedback and you know, want to hear what your position is on this topic because a large topic and it opens up conversation on different levels. Like, you know, do people support getting married in the courts and you know the whole legal stuff and would you have a dowry and would you polygamy in the same home or in different homes? I mean, like there's so many different things and directions to go with that.
Yeah,
a dowry, the perfect insurance policy for a marriage.
Well, that one article said that if you want a monogamous relationship, you know, you need to make sure that dowry is pretty hefty. That's
this is, I think it's the same across the board. If you
like I like this culture right here, you know.
And it's basically like you know the Jewish tradition where if you have like if you want to marry someone, you need to give them a substantial amount of compensation in case, you know, your marriage goes left, she has something to fall back on and to, you know, start off her life or whatever.
Before we go, why don't we hear from the people in the chat? We got 18 people watching. If you could see polygamy being beneficial for our community currently in 2019, I want you to put a 1. If you feel like it's not going to work, I want you to put a 2. Let's see polygamy. One man, multiple women. Let's see those ones for yes. The two for no.
Facts. I don't know.
Where's your one?
I'm gonna just say one, but you know, under the right circumstances.
All right. Now Ethan said 2. Not for me, a ras.
Yeah,
Come on, Shakara, witness.
Wait, for one, if you're for it.
One is that you could see it being good for our community for 2019, and 2, nah, it's not gonna work.
I'm gonna say 2.
Yashar?
Yeah, not and with the idea that not because polygamy or polyandry is necessarily negative, I just don't feel like in our current context we have what it takes to pull it off properly.
I was just gonna call you out. Select the oneness.
Yeah, it's a different one still.
I think it could be, but we're not ready.
I don't know.
But I think that would be cool though, Shakara, at some point if you could get some people on that are in such relationships.
Do you know what? I'm gonna do that.
I don't know if Zubiri's watching. Sister Effie.
But yeah, like the show's tomorrow. What Scattered Mind show? That's gonna be at 7, and then Shakara content got shows on Wednesday. And then as always, Nanifa Sunday. Rest in peace. Boom. I think we can wrap this one up still. But anyway,
all right.
Peace
everyone in the chat, and I appreciate you lot coming through.
Did you put the link?
Yeah.
Okay, so for everyone, the link is in the chat for the after show. Make sure if you are interested in conversing with us afterwards, click that link and we'll holler at you. It's been a great show. Thanks for joining us here at Constructive Convos, where we are bringing the conversation back to Black. Peace, everyone.
Peace.